All right, so this is a Roman chair back extension exercise. Stick with me because there's a lot of different variations that you can do with this, starting with this one that you see with the stability ball, which is easy for a lot of people to do at home. The more advanced version is actually utilizing a Roman chair, but there's a makeshift setup that you can do in the gym as well as at your home if you have just a squat rack available to you and no Roman chair. A Roman chair really isn't that expensive, so you can purchase some of the cheaper versions of them. It doesn't need to be fancy. As you advance in some of these exercises, it definitely is something that you may want to consider. But we're going to show you all the different versions here of this Roman chair back extension exercise because it is a super useful exercise to build strength in the hamstrings, glutes, as well as the low back too. Now the key to the exercise is that you should never feel the back as just the primary muscle group working. You should feel this nice distribution of hamstring, glute, and a little bit of low back coming to play too. So the key to this exercise is at the top position. So someone who is feeling their back a lot with this exercise, we're going to focus more on just an isometric hold. Think of this as a plank for your hamstrings, glutes, and low back. You're just going to hold this position for an extended period of time. I've given people weights where they just hold this position with 25-pound plate in their hand and just hold for 15 to 30 seconds. So that may be what you have to do. Also, if you do this for repetitions, it might make more sense to hold or pause at the top for 3 seconds before lowering yourself back down. And again, focusing on that nice constant contraction at that top position and then controlled lowering out of it. But again, if you feel from doing a lot of different repetitions of this exercise that you're getting a low back discomfort from it and not a nice distribution of glute, hamstring, and low back, then you may choose to do longer pauses at the top and less reps overall, and that can help you out. Now, to avoid the low back sensation, it's very important that you don't overarch your back. You have a nice straight line running from your head down to your heel. And in some of these home versions or makeshift versions, a little bit harder because you don't have the back padding on the backside of the calf, gastroc, and Achilles that a Roman chair would. This allows you to push your heels into something to get a lot more of a glute contraction out of the exercise. So the Roman chair is the best way to get that sensation because of that padding on the backside of the calf and the Achilles. Now, the other key to get this sensation is to think like you're taking your back pocket towards your knee or pulling your butt down towards your knee. That will help you also engage the glute and hamstring and get hip extension without back extension. Again, you're going to get some back extension, but we're stopping at neutral. We're not hyperextending the back with this exercise. And we want to make sure that the glutes and the hamstrings come to the party and distribute this workload evenly throughout the entire exercise. So it's very important that you get these two concepts of glute and back hip pocket towards knee, as well as if you have something to dig the heel in or the back of your calf into to pull yourself up from, then that's also very useful for you too. Now you've seen me go through a bunch of different variations here. Again, the easiest version and one that I'll give for somebody who needs to do this frequently at home is the Swiss ball, because a lot of people will have a Swiss ball available to them. Now note that you have to lift the Swiss ball up off the ground. If you put the Swiss ball flat on the ground, it just does not feel right. It doesn't give you the right angle. We're not at a 45-degree angle, so this exercise just doesn't work flat on the ground. So you have to find something to elevate that Swiss ball up off the ground and use the wall to help support you. If we're in the weight room, again, you could stick with the Swiss ball. A lot of weight rooms have the Swiss ball available to them, but you can also utilize a squat rack, and the bar on the squat rack put a pad so that you can then load this exercise up a little bit more aggressively. It lends its hand to loading itself up a little bit more aggressively, whereas a stability ball might roll around a little bit on you, and it's harder to get heavier weight added into the exercise. So a couple ways of doing this is if you're If the squat rack has a back bar to it, you're going to want to use that back bar as the support system for your back heel and your back foot. Just put that arch right on that back bar. Again, you're pushing the heels and arch into that back bar to give you some stability, and then you're pulling from the glutes by pulling your back hip pocket towards your knee to lift from the legs and not the back. If you don't have that back bar available to you, a nice alternative is if you have a slant bar. If you have a slant board, you can use that slant board to put your feet on. Just be sure to either put the slant board up against the wall if the squat rack is next to a wall, or put some dumbbells in front of it so it doesn't slide out from underneath of you. Again, this could be body weight load, focused pauses at the top. You could progress to a medicine ball, holding at the chest. We could progress to dumbbells. I like to hold the dumbbells at the chest too. You'll just notice it's a little bit easier to keep more core tension with the exercise with the dumbbells at the chest than the arms hanging down by your side, especially for the beginner who's just trying to learn the exercise and not feel an over dominance of the low back with this exercise. Eventually though, as you get the hang of the technique, you're feeling it in the correct areas and you can do more sets and reps, then you're going to want to progress to the barbell, because the barbell is what's going to allow you to progressively and continually load this and advance this exercise over time. Again, once you're getting to the barbell here, it may make sense to start thinking about investing in an actual Roman chair, because the heavier and heavier that you go with this exercise, the more and more natural the Roman chair is going to feel as comparative to these alternate setups. But these alternate setups work extremely well when you focus on the pauses at the top, or even, again, just holding that top position as an isometric and doing so as a plank from anywhere from 15, 30 seconds, even upwards of a minute hold I've done with people. Another way of making the exercise more challenging, as shown in a lot of the videos, is progressing to a single leg. Again, progressing to a single leg is going to challenge the load significantly more without having to add more weight. So I prefer to progress to a single leg version of the exercise before we get to the point in time where we're loading a barbell. Allows you to increase the challenge on the body without having to always increase the load placed on the body. And that oftentimes, from a longevity standpoint, can feel a lot better on the body long term.